This hour is being brought to you by Olson Rug.
Right, bro, come on. So young. And you have to be in a golf cart now, too, right? Like
yes,
that gimp guy? Even right up to the green?
Well, he's always been like that. He waddles.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Let me just point out that at any time I could go totally ballistic, go totally nuts on either of you. Okay?
Right.
I just want to point that out right now.
Are we supposed to be afraid?
Yes.
Yeah,
be very afraid.
How would we know when you've gone nuts?
It's a very short trip. I was going to tell you, what was I going to tell you here? Oh.
That you're going to go nuts on us at any moment.
We brought in here the list of the...
Who are we? Do we look like Mearday to you?
By the way, I think I may have changed my position on Jeremiah Mearday. I'm glad you brought that up. I talked to some people over the weekend. And they said it's very strange. And I mean, these are people who are in the know.
And they don't just buy anything.
Right.
They'll look at all sides.
Right. And I mean, this is like, these are people that would say to me, Ro, Mearday's a punk. He should have gotten his head caved in. If that were true. And they would say to me that they would also say if the cops, there's a little question about what happened here. There's one guy said to me specifically, he's never seen a coincidence like this in 20 years of law enforcement. And this is somebody who would normally side with the police in a situation like this.
So you're changing your position?
Well,
that they went after him.
I think I got to open up my mind to the possibility that that occurred. I'm shocked that I'm hearing myself say
Why
this.
would they do that in such a public way?
In the station house.
No, not, all right.
In the house.
Here's what I think could possibly happen. How about this? How about, and I think the only way I can justify this in my mind, I don't think any cops would, well, I shouldn't say any. I'm sure there's some nutballs out there that would do anything. But the arresting officers in this case, I don't think are nutballs who went over and said, we got to go get Jeremiah Mearday.
Show that we're in charge.
But I think on the canvas of the area, they know where Jeremiah Mearday generally stays, frequents. Isn't that what they always say on the cop shows? Where he frequents. And arresting him is probably not the worst thing in the world to some police officers.
Just to show some force again?
Yeah, not to beat him up.
Because they didn't do that.
No. I don't think that they were going out there to beat him up, but it is an interesting coincidence if we get
brush back pitch?
Yeah, a little.
Well, they bring in
little chin music.
That's not what you're talking about the drugs that they found, right? I mean,
that is still complicated to me. I don't. This one guy said all right, I talked to two different guys, and one said he believes that they were planted. Another guy said he doesn't know. I still can't believe that they were planted. I cannot imagine that a cop is. I know.
Well, if you're going to cave on the first part, you almost have to cave in on the whole thing. You either think it was a setup or not, and you have to buy into the whole thing.
No, you don't.
You don't.
No, you don't.
Just darn luck that he had something in his shoe.
It was not luck.
And they're going after him. It was darn luck that he had something in his shoe.
Yes. Yeah.
That stops short of a setup. The setup would they pick up people all the time that look at him, that turn away from him.
Exactly, and they knew who he was, and they said, okay, we're going to take him in.
So they take him in.
Now the chances of all this coming together in that way seem remote. If we're going to look at it like that.
That's exactly what the problem is here. Is I start to think now, what are the chances that 5 days later they'd scoop this guy up?
Well, the murder, the cops were shot at right by his house. That isn't a coincidence. I mean, that isn't part of their scheme. How would they set that
up? That just happened to be in their favor as far as location.
Right.
So they go out, see him in front of his house, roust him because he's acting, they claim, suspiciously, and turns away. Every cop's going to go for him. So where's
a week later, though? You don't even wait till it cools down a little bit?
No, the shot
I don't think there's
I know, but I'm saying...
See, Eugene Pincham, yesterday, was at the community meeting, the Jeremiah Mearday community meeting, and was saying that he thinks that the subpoenas were offered in a slapdash sort of way. This is what I think everybody should look for, and this will tell us what the ultimate conclusion on this is. Look for the grand jury to indict or not to indict. If they do not indict Jeremiah Mearday, that will tell you that the Cook County State's Attorney's Office does not believe that Jeremiah Mearday was picked up legally. Because in Cook County, as the old expression goes, you could indict a ham sandwich at a grand jury. Grand jury doesn't, it's a pro forma kind of thing. It takes very little time if they wanted to, and they could indict anybody for anything. They could indict Gary Meyer for the John Benet Ramsey murder if they wanted at a Cook County State's Attorney, a Cook County grand jury. So if for some reason they don't get an indictment out of this grand jury, my belief is that the Cook County State's Attorney office will have thrown the they don't think that they think it's too hot of a potato, or they don't think the bust was legal.
I figure you got a Johnny Cochran phrase coming out of this. If you don't indict, you're not too bright, or something like that.
It's just I'm looking at this and I'm thinking there's something that doesn't quite add up. Now, I don't know anything about Jeremiah Mearday other than the first time around, I tend to side more with the cops than I do with Jeremiah Mearday. Because whenever you get arrested by the cops, if you are very polite, the likelihood that you're going to get your face crushed in is highly unlikely. Unless you got some really bad rogue cops. And what are the chances?
Anything's possible in the big city.
But there's something weird about
on the aluminum coast. You don't see this stuff. It's different.
I live in the neighborhoods, my friend.
You're always on your porch talking?
I'm always on and I'm talking to the neighbors, and I know what happens here. There's something that just doesn't add up. I mean, I talked to these guys, and I expected to get the kid had it coming, and he was bad, and I didn't get that. And guys who would normally do it, and so all of a sudden, it's like when the president couldn't answer the Monica Lewinsky deal immediately.
A light goes off.
Yeah.
Or a
all
candle.
Of a sudden, something goes off in my head.
Some kind of light goes off.
I start to think, now, wait a second, what's going on here? Although I still can't believe that seasoned veteran police officers...
A week later...
would risk their careers.
When it's still very much in the news.
But of course, then again, if you're going to arrest a guy, I mean, they can't not arrest a guy.
You could do the reverse psychology. That's why you do it, because nobody would think you'd do it a week later unless it was legit.
But you can't not arrest... But now I'm going to talk myself out of this. Watch this. You can't not arrest a guy because he is just Jeremiah Mearday. You can't, I mean...
If he's breaking the law.
Right, if you think he's breaking the law. Of course, all they got him on was... Well, by the way, that's the thing. That's the one thing that I'm not sure I buy on this, is that Jeremiah Mearday swung on the cops. That's the one thing. That's the linchpin to me. I don't believe that story. I don't believe that Jeremiah Mearday would have taken a swing at the cops, just based on the way his face looked last time he did something like that. Allegedly.
All right, so you're officially changing your story.
No, here's what I'm amending. I'm amending to this. I don't think they planted the cocaine on him. I do not think that.
But if they're going to pinch him, just to pinch him, then they happen to have the luck of having something in his shoe.
Yes, I think that's what happened. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
play the lotto.
I think they pinched him because they knew they could at that point and thought, you know what, that's not a bad thing to do. Let this guy know that just because he got 2 cops fired, that does not mean he's above the law.
So this is a brushback pitch.
Yes. And then they happen to catch the cocaine in their shoe.
Sounds like a made-for-TV movie.
Kind of is. Debbie's on WLS. Hi, Debbie.
Ro, this is Debbie. I called you on Friday and told you exactly what I hear you say now.
I know.
You're a lot of man, though. You're a man to admit it. I am
a lot of man. I liked it when you said it that way first. You're a lot of man. I'm a lot of man.
Okay, you're a big man.
I'm a lot of man, yeah.
But I told you that they did it because the cops are arrogant. They think that they...
Oh, you're married to a cop, right?
That's right.
Now, wait, hold on a second. I don't think they do it because they're arrogant. I think they do it because they need to maintain control.
That's part of it. But in other words, before you can arrest somebody, you have to have cause. What cause?
Yeah, that's where there may be an issue here.
Right. I mean, what cause did they have to go after him in the first place?
Cause schmoz.
If I were Mearday, if I saw some cops coming toward me, yes, I'm going to run. Okay? After what I had just been through.
Well, how's that going to help you?
You're scared. You're going to sit there and take what you got before.
But then if he's on the ground yelling, I'm Mearday, he must have thought he's got a little protection.
Well, right, but maybe he does, because at that point...
Why not just sit there and yell, I'm Mearday?
Hey, he tried that. It didn't stop him.
He didn't start yelling until he was on the ground.
Wait a second. I don't know about you, but after I have been beat up, and you saw the pictures, missing half my lip. My lip is up to my forehead.
No, he had all of his lip. He had more than all of his lip. He had a lot of lip going on there.
He was looking like Mick Jagger.
No, because he had an allergic reaction. According to his own testimony.
That's right. He was stung by a bee. He was on his way to the drugstore.
He had shellfish, and he was on his way to the drugstore to get some sort of... So his lip was exceptionally swollen to begin with.
What he's allergic to is police batons, okay?
When your husband got home Friday, did he hear any of this?
Yes.
And what did he say?
Did he beat you?
No, he asked me, why am I telling all their secrets?
Oh, come on.
Okay.
Why are you throwing your husband under the bus? Debbie, why do you throw your husband under the bus like this?
Listen, truly, honestly, I'm telling you all, they did it because they thought they could get away with it. The same logic that you all use, like, will we really do this a week after two of our own? We're five. I mean, it seems so incredible that nobody would believe they would do this on purpose.
Let me ask you this. Do you think they dropped the cocaine on him?
Yes, of course they did.
Yeah, I don't agree. They're there.
You know what, Ro?
What?
Have you ever gotten a pebble in your shoe? It's annoying.
It is uncomfortable. Of course, I'm not trying to sell that pebble.
Debbie, if you have high-top gym shoes, you can put it on the side and still walk and run very normally.
No, they said they found it under the lining, the sole of his shoe. They said they found it under the lining of the sole of his shoe. Now, I don't know about you. One pebble makes me uncomfortable to walk on. How are you going to walk on?
He wasn't walking. He was sitting there talking on the phone.
He was standing.
How could he run?
He turned around.
He hadn't planned on running. He didn't know they were going to pull up a week later.
There was
a
pivot. You know what? Now, here's the deal, though. If you cut a little hole into the bottom of there and so it's kind of flush.
Like when you would hide your squirt gun in school in your books, you'd cut a little opening right in the book.
Okay, maybe that. Or, now, here's one thing, though. Would you want to put a rock of cocaine near your mouth after it's been in your shoe?
Maybe he wasn't going to put it in his mouth.
All right.
First of all, it's a setup, and I am just so glad that Eugene Pencham, who I happen to know very well,
he's got one of those names,
has decided to step in and support these people who were subpoenaed. Now, how many times do you...
There weren't that many, though. As it turns out, he was... and the judge has been on this show and others before, and I've known him for a long time, and he generally doesn't step into a lot of crap unless he knows he can win.
Exactly.
Generally.
Absolutely right.
But he does, the one thing about him is that he does have a tendency to, when he thinks he can win, he overshoots a little bit. And he did overshoot this because there weren't that many people who were subpoenaed.
Well, the lie came from the state's attorney's office who said there were only two. And we know for a fact that there were more than two.
Debbie, second part of the question, do you think President Clinton should leave office?
No.
Okay.
What are you, taking a survey?
I am taking a survey.
All right.
Nope, absolutely not.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Ro, when you talked to all of your African-American friends over the weekend, what did they feel about this? I'm sure you did. I'm sure you got on the grapevine.
Well, African-Americans with whom I have spoken off the air pretty much agree it was set up.
Yeah.
They also agree that the ones I've spoken to off the air also agree that the president should not resign and that he did nothing wrong.
Okay, we've got the OJ of 98 case here.
Yeah, it is weird how people come to these stories, and this is what we're learning. This is what we've learned since 1994, Gary, is that people come to these stories and look at them differently. Actually, we learned that in 1990. I think we actually learned that in 1890.
45 tomorrow, Kim. Ro Khan and Gary Meyer on Oscar Day and night. Where is that DiCaprio boy? Get in a tuxedo and get down there.
Let's go back to the phones at 591-8900. We're taking a little Oscar respite here as Jeremiah Mearday pops back up because now I'm conflicted. John is an officer.
Yeah, hi, guys.
Hi.
I'm telling you, my blood has just been boiling over this whole thing, especially ever since the second arrest by him. The one thing you don't hear from anyone is that, maybe the reason that he's always having these run-ins with the law is because maybe he's up to no good so often. I mean, that's like the farthest thing from anybody else's mind.
No, I don't think that is a vote. I don't think that. Well, all right. Yes, that's the part of it. If you watched that thing yesterday, let me finish here. If you watched the meeting last night on TV, as much as TV News showed it, there's never ever a mention of that in a community meeting like that. Could he possibly be up to no good? There's no debate on that issue. It's just assumed automatically that the police are up to no good, and I think that's unfair, incorrect, and wrong.
And they might be using Mearday as an example of other injustices or what they perceive to be injustices in the community, and Mearday's the only guy available right now to use as that shield, and he might not be that squeaky clean, but you're using that.
It's a bad example. It was
to make a point about something else.
Right, Rodney King is a bad example.
But they're in the news, so you have to line up behind that person.
But let me ask you this. As a police officer,
yeah,
do you find it do you find it an interesting coincidence or not that he gets picked up within 5-6 days, whatever it ended up being, of the officers being arrested, being fired?
No, and see, that's one of the things I'm saying is he lives in a high crime area. Okay, there was a shooting, from what I understand, just a few blocks from where he apparently resides, and the police were driving around. They had some leads on a possible suspect. They had the TAC team out there driving around looking for people. Well, here's a guy, and it's whether you want to say, well, a man has a right to stand anywhere he wants on a sidewalk, may be true, but as a police officer, when you're out looking for somebody and you see a guy look at the police and turn around and start walking the other way, you've got to assume that he might be up to no good. Otherwise, why did he look at you and turn around and start walking the other way?
Isn't everybody a suspect in the area for the most part for a while?
Well, you don't want to say that everyone is.
No, but I mean, not specifically, but in general, you're looking at everybody. When you're looking for somebody, you're looking at everybody.
Everybody is a suspect right now. All of a sudden, Gary's like that cop from Casablanca.
Well, see, that's like,
Bro, I've been
I've
been accosted by the police as a suspect. I know the feeling. I've been there.
I'm sure you have. All right, now let's go back to something else here. That going back just to the mechanics of this, how this all breaks down.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that the cops could have, once they brought him in, they realized who he was? Is it possible that they could have planted drugs on him?
No, see, think about because you know what I've heard a lot with some of these community activists, and that is there's no way he could have had rock in his shoes because the sweat from his feet would have made the rock melt in that. These guys, they don't just keep rock in their shoes. They're all kept in those little, like, half-inch by half-inch Ziploc bags. They're sealed.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going to be affected by sweat or moisture or anything like that. And a
lot of guys have rock in their shoes.
Guys with dope, that's probably the number one or two place they keep it, in their shoe.
What would be the other place?
You're not going to make guys take off, at least they think, you're not going to make guys take off their shoes. And if I make a street stop on someone, that's one of the things I always make sure I do is have them take their shoes off because that's where they hide it.
Yeah.
I mean...
See, there's a lack of good faith here, I think, on both sides, which really bothers me. First of all, like the police union, whom I generally support, says, look, there's no such thing as a bad cop, which is disingenuous. Then the community activists say there's no such thing as a bad Jeremiah Mearday. I mean, he's an angel, which is also disingenuous.
It's the victim of circumstances.
So what you got are two guys talking. You got two organizations talking past each other.
It's separate extremes, right?
Yeah, and then the rest of us struggle to try to figure out, because I think there may be some a little bit of half truth, if you will, to both sides of this story. I think there is a possibility, and that's the thing. No one wants to be honest here. Honest police work, the real life police work, is generally not done by the book. Because if it is done by the book, nothing gets done.
Well, see, that's the one point I wanted to make. We had a beat meeting
Don't say beat.
Months ago, and it's the same people who are always complaining about the dope dealers standing on their corner in their block, and want the police to do something about it, will be the same ones who will complain if
the Mearday is picked up.
Too aggressive. It's like they want the dope dealers off their corners, but they think that they're going to be eliminated by us just going up to them saying, "Oh, excuse me, Mr. Dope Dealer, would you please mind leaving the street corner?" The people.
Yeah, it's too hard to judge this because it's not somebody who's got a squeaky clean background. If we had that,
thanks, John,
and this happened, we go, whoa. But it's never the way we want it. Rodney wasn't going
in the real
under
world,
the speed limit.
In the real
or
world,
the speed limit.
There's a lot of ugly, tattered kind of parts to this story that nobody really wants to talk about. Nobody in the media really wants to tell the truth that there are bad guys out there, and also that there are cops who have to deal with bad guys that don't always do the right thing. And that's the right thing by the book. But
well, aren't most of the people that are picked up on the Cops TV show white?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Here's Jim.
Mayor Daley supporting the police who arrested 19-year-old Jeremiah Mearday, but he also agrees the rhetoric should be cooled off. Police Union President Bill Nolan called Mearday a scumbag.